Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Guys, I want to upload this recording as I was just led to pour into someone, a fleshly being. And I felt compelled to jump on really quickly. And I'm hoping that one person, just if it's one, it's fine, can receive this message. And that is this right here. I hope you hope again. I hope you find passion again. I hope the despair starts to leave you so you can dream again. See, we're in a place right now in life where even the most motivational person or the person who's always just kind of out there and just doing their thing and things like that, right? And don't really struggle with depression or moments of disparity. Even most people like that, including myself, excuse me, we sense this, there's a heaviness in the spiritual realm. There's a drought. There's feeling of so much disparity, even from individuals who typically don't deal with this. So then think about the individuals who usually do deal with depression, who usually do deal with hopelessness and loneliness. Then it's kind of amplified times two for them right now. And it's because it's a spiritual shift. Again, if you're under a rock, then that's the only way you would not be able to feel like, or if you're disconnected, because sometimes you can be going through so much stuff that you're really disconnected spiritually. But if you're connected, you feel the shift. Things aren't the same. I have some friends and some associates who are typically very driven, typically very successful in knowing what they want and what the next step is. And now they're calling me like, Kizzy, I just don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing it because I feel a conviction to do so, but I'm doing it. And it's just not, I don't really have the passion for it, the drive for it. It just doesn't make sense. I'm just not as motivated as I typically am. And I get it. I do. So I was sharing with a friend of mine. I said, in my personal opinion, just an opinion, no facts, I feel like at some point there are options, kind of meaning like, okay, God wants you here or there or to do this or whatever. But then there's something else calling you, like your own flesh or your own desires, your own goals, where it's kind of like God just kind of gave you that decision. Like, well, I mean, I want you here, but if you want to go there, then, do your thing. It's going to take you longer or you might bump your head, but eventually you'll find your way back to my thing, where we kind of have that space in between to kind of play with it. Maybe not a good thing, but I'm just saying, where now it's like, because things are at such an acceleration, there's no wiggle room. Meaning, if you're not going the route that God needs you to go, nothing else is going to work. Nothing else is going to work. Where before it was kind of more like options, where you can go that way and make your head hard. It's just going to take you longer to get there. Or you can go that way and you're just not going to find fulfillment. And eventually you get tired of it and then just find your way back. Where now it's like, no, either you're going to go this way or I'm going to block everything. And so because most people, or some people I should say, really are not happy about answering their call, I guess. I don't know. I guess you have people who are not happy to answer their call. I mean, I don't know anybody else, but I'm assuming that there are people who are just not happy to answer their call, or they may be fearful to answer their call, and they're trying to run from it, or they're trying to go a certain way, and God has blocked all access. So now you're stuck. You're stuck because you don't want to really answer the call fully, but then you can't go left either. So now you feel trapped. Or even in relationships, that's not the person that God has for you, right? you're in love, or you think you're in love, or you may be in love, you're in love, or, it just might be a fleshly thing, and, everything's off the chain, right? Or you might have a soul tie, or you just can't, might be a narcissist, and you just can't get away, or you don't want to get away, I should say, that God has been clear telling you you have to leave. So because if you answer the call and you have to leave on your own, which maybe you don't think you have the power to do that, or you just don't want to do it, then God is shutting down other areas in your life. So it's like, all right, you want to make your head hard. I'm telling you to leave this relationship or the situationship, or start inviting me in to help break up the soul tie, or to help you conquer and get away from this narcissist. Because again, I'm a firm believer in you cannot and you will not conquer a narcissist in the physical fleshly realm. It's absolutely impossible. You're literally fighting a demonic spirit. So God has to step in when it comes down to narcissism, as well as soul ties, right? Which they're different. Soul tie is not a demonic spirit, if you will. You just have some demonic attachments tied up in there some kind of way. But the point is, a lot of other areas will not open for you. Meaning, you might be stuck feeling like, well, I thought I had a download that this is the right business venture, or the right job, or the right ministry move, or whatever, but nothing's taking off. It's stagnant. It doesn't make sense. But if God have blocked you because he's not going to allow you to prosper in other areas because you're refusing to move this person, this thing, or this place out of your life, a lot of things are just blocked and shut down because he's trying to get you in alignment with the direction that he needs you to go, and that person you're with can't go. So he's going to shut everything down until you decide to make a move, or you decide to invite him in. Once you do that, you will start to see things moving again. But you got to get still to hear it. Because I was blocked, not for a long time, maybe some months, because I'm typically very good at, because I don't like being blocked. I don't like being blocked. So when I feel like I'm blocked and certain things aren't happening, and like, wait a minute now, why am I at a standstill here? Then I'm very good about sitting still to figure out why am I blocked? And then I realized that in this season, there's not many chances and choices. You're going to get in alignment. And if you do it this way, then everything else will open up, and then everything else will flow. And then that's what I did. I had to shut some things down. I didn't want to. I had to sit down. I didn't want to. Felt like I was in punishment, right? I didn't want to, but I was obedient. And then being in obedience allowed me to hear my proper downloads on what did I need to shut down, who I needed to shut down, who I needed to stop wasting time with, or just, distractions, if you will. And then once I got into alignment, things started to flow again. So if you're feeling blocked, if you're feeling like, what is going on? First, again, recognize that we are in a spiritual shift. I mean, there's a shift. There is a shift, and it's very, very gloomy. It's very dark. It's I think people who don't even typically deal with depression, you can start to kind of get a sense of what depression kind of feels like. I mean, of course, you won't know the full feel of depression unless you deal with it, but you can kind of get a sample, because it's like, something's off. Something's off. So you got to get still. Ask God. Just ask him, Lord, what do I need to remove? Be very, very careful about guarding your eyes and your ears, because the enemy is very strategic, and he is petty, and he has no edges, and I don't like him. What he will do to you, he did it to me years ago, and that's how I can speak about it. He will start to put people in your face who are achieving the very things that you feel like you should have already achieved. So I don't know, for an example, I don't know, God promised you something and it's still not coming to pass, but now your best friend got it and you hearing about it from a family member who achieved it, et cetera, et cetera. So before you know it, if you're not careful, you will find yourself in a place of despair. That's where he wants you at, because if you're full of despair, that's giving him access. He can really now come into your spirit and to get you to agree with him about certain things, the very things that God is trying to get you to break up off of you. So be very careful about what he's putting into your spirit. Truth be told, like I'm one of these people, I can really celebrate people even when if it's not my season, if you will. I can still celebrate people without having that side eye. But that's not probably the average person. It's probably very difficult to really celebrate someone truly in its entirety when you're in a really down, dry season. And it's not that you're hating on the person. It's just that thing of just like, man, when is my turn come? Your turn is coming, because seasons rotate. Seasons rotate, but you got to be in alignment. So many people are stuck because they don't understand that alignment is so crucial. You can fight all day long, but if that is not God's will for you, in certain season when he's really ready to shift you and he's really, really calling you, especially now because the world is so crazy, you can fight until your head fall off. Certain doors are not going to open. Certain things are not going to work. That relationship will never work out. You will never find happiness and peace. You will constantly be fighting, constantly dealing with warfare, a reverse psychology, constantly trying to make somebody see certain child. Woo, flashback. It's never going to work, because that is not what God has for you, regardless of what your own little beautiful heart, mind, and body wants. That's not his will for you. So because things are moving at such an acceleration rate and he's not playing, if you don't try to ask him to help you, he's going to snatch it. And it's going to drop you to your knees because you really don't have the ball to bounce. So he's giving you some leeway to say, hey, invite me in. I'm here to help you, but you got to ask me. You got to ask me. I'm telling you to change your number, but you won't change it. Or if you change it back 2 days later and you give the nut butt the number again. I'm telling you, don't answer the phone because you don't have the power. This is a spiritual battle. Don't answer the phone, because when you answer the phone, he's going, or she, or he is going to say the right words, and before you know it, they're ringing the doorbell. They just want to speak, and you let them in the house, and you know. One of y'all just got that. I feel it in my spirit. And before you know it, the soul tie that God was working on is now back in full acceleration. And now the saga continues. And now you're back in this drought the next day. You're full of despair. You're like, God, I don't know what's going on. What is going on with my life? Why am I so unhappy? Because your way just ain't gonna work no more. We used to have leeway to try. My way, your way, my flesh, his way, right? My desires, his way, my goals, his way. Well, you know, got choices up over here, right? Well, some of us ain't got no choices right now. And it may it may just be you. But one thing I will tell you for sure. And that is, my phone still is crazy. One thing I will tell you for sure is this, because I just finally got to a completion of an assignment, right? The first chapter of it. I know with this one, there's going to be more chapters, but I got to a completion of the first chapter, or maybe even second, I don't even know. But it's so rewarding and it's so fulfilling. So if you're struggling with some disparity, because you may be in the process of not understanding what God is doing, once you get in alignment and once you just follow him, and once you finally get to the end of whatever he's calling you to do, you're going to be so fulfilled. You're going to be so fulfilled, regardless of all the gloom that's going on around you right now. You can shut that stuff out. You're so fulfilled. Like, my spirit is so fulfilled because I stuck to it. right? Again, my obedience. I stuck to it, and now I'm seeing the results, and I'm now seeing the fruits. That's how you know when you're on the right path. You're seeing the fruit. You're seeing that God will make a way. When God has called you to it, things unfold naturally. Not to say you won't get hit with delays or frustrations or whatever. Woo, look at that. More money coming in. I don't even know where that money coming from, honey, but let me tell you something. Once I finished my chapter, God just opened up the air. Things just started coming to me. Mind you, this is key. You don't do things because you're looking for God to bless you with overflow. You do it because you're obedient to God. You do it because you love God. You just get to have access to the overflow because he trusted you here. You completed it here. So now I'm going to elevate you and I'm going to send you someplace else. So you need this in order to do this, right? You need this because I want you to celebrate for sticking things out and doing my will. So go take a trip, go take a vacation, go get a massage. So I'm going to make sure you're good to show you my appreciation. So whatever you do, guys, just keep pushing. I know a lot of people are just in this place of despair. They feel empty. They feel lonely. They feel lost. And it's only because that longing that you feel, you can only get that longing satisfied when you tap back in and get aligned and ask God, what is your purpose for right now? For right now. It may not be your purpose next year, may be something completely different, or the assignment may be completely something different for next year. Ask him what you should be doing right now, because you may be doing something and that's not what he wants you to do right now. That's what you think you should be doing because, I don't know, he told you that 3 years ago. But you got to, right now, in this moment, God, what do you need from me in this very moment today? Please give me wisdom so I don't miss it. When I see that person at the gas station, I can drop this word. When I see this person I can drop, what do you need from me today? If you ask him about today, he will give you your downloads for today. And then tomorrow, so on and so on and so on. Then you may get hit with a big download like, all right, I need you to do this, but it's going to take 6 months for you to accomplish it, but just start. But focus on today, guys. If you see people around you who are prospering, understand that they had a down season themselves. They had a dry season at some point. When you were up, they were probably down. So don't let that discourage you. Keep your eyes locked on God. Ask God, what should you be doing? Ask God to give you grace to shut down your distractions. Ask God to give you grace and wisdom to remove who he needs you to remove. Cut off what he needs you. If he's moving these things for you, it's because you probably had conviction to move it yourself, but you just didn't, I don't know, made your head hard, or maybe you didn't have the strength to do so. So he did it for you. So now you're on the floor with a white mouth because you ain't eaten 3 days, thinking that someone cheated on you and because the girl was prettier or because the dude had more money. And that's God the whole time trying to look out for you because you can't even see this person about to send you straight to hell. He's looking out for you. Lastly, this just hit me. To those of you like me, I'm not here now. I was here maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, where everybody looks to you, right? For everything, maybe just your words, your wisdom, just whatever they need, meaning you're the person, you're the strong friend, right? You're the person that everyone comes to. There's going to come a period, if you have not hit it yet, where God is going to remove all that too. And it's going to start feeling like people are just falling off and you're not going to understand why. Because you're like, well, wait a minute now. I mean, this person here, we didn't even have like a disagreement. So why have I not spoken to this person in months or whatever? What God is doing right here, there's different seasons for different things. So in certain seasons, God needs you to be that strong friend. Right? He needs you to be the person that everybody, he's going to give you grace to pour out all this wisdom, and then you go back to him so he can fill you up, etc., etc. But in certain seasons like this one here, he's going, for some, he's going to start removing people who constantly pulls at you, and typically they always need you. And you're going to get to a place where you feel extremely lonely. And you're not going to understand, why do I feel so lonely? I'm never the lonely person. I'm the person who always got the ignited spirit. Why do I feel alone? Not from people not being around you alone, but internally, spiritually alone. Because if he's removing people from you who typically pulls from your spirit, see, when you give them what you got, that fulfills your spirit. It makes you really feel fulfilled when you're helping people. If you have that, it fulfills you when you're helping people and when you're there for people. So because you're not doing that and he's pulling that away, now you feel like, well, who am I? Because I always do this. I always this. Now that you're saying I can't do that anymore, who am I? That's exactly where he wants you at. Because people are putting too many labels on themselves. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. And what you are, all that, but who are you? I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm a teacher. I'm a dietitian. I'm this. I'm a prophet. I'm this. I'm that. I'm this. I'm that. All that's fine. Those are your titles, but who are you? And God can't really get to help you understand truly who you are. And so you can see yourself the way he wants you to see you until he starts removing all these things. And granted, this may only be for a quick season. It could be for a lifetime. Who knows? Because maybe your season of pouring into people may be over. Maybe now it's time for you to receive people pouring into you, right? You just got to know where you are spiritually. But I know personally, I'm in a season, again, I don't know. It feels like it's going to be short, but I don't know. Who am I, right? Where he's allowing people to pour into. Speaking of that, if you're listening, Javon, thank you. Speaking of that, when I first got that download about, I don't know, maybe about 3 months ago, not even that long, might have been about 2 months ago, if that. I got woken up like 3 o'clock in the morning. And you know how it is when God wakes you up and you can't get back to sleep, right? And I'm one of these people. I don't like to be woken up, right? I've always been that way. Don't wake me up out of my sleep. Please don't wake me up. Ooh. But you know how it is when God wake you up and you can't get back to sleep. So he woke me up 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting here talking. So I already know now through discipline that when he wakes me up, not to touch my phone. Right? I got to sit still to try to figure out what he wants me to hear. And that's what he gave me. He was like, in this season, you're so used to 1,000 people per day, I'm exaggerating, pulling at you, right? Not even in the bad way, right? Because he had to shift my thinking with that too. Because I was getting annoyed at some point. I'm just like, could you call somebody else, please? Could you call your mama? Could you call your daddy? Could you call your who? I'm the first person you call. And then God had to really deal with me prior to waking me up, right? He had shown me a week prior. He was like, Kizzy, you and my servers and the people who I use, I want y'all to stop seeing that as a bad thing. And typically I don't. I only see it as a bad thing when I'm tired or I'm frustrated or I got a lot going on. Then I feel like it's just too much. Leave me alone, right? But typically I love pouring into people. But he said, I want y'all to stop seeing that as a bad thing. And I hope somebody can maybe get this in their spirit. If you're dealing with that, if you're feeling very frustrated because people always depend on you, see it as people see the wisdom in you. God have graced you and blessed you where people see your wisdom. They see your fruit. They see your resiliency. They see how you can handle things. Think about it. There's billions of people in the world. Why do so many people see something in you? Why do they see it in you? What is it about you and your spirit that attracts people? So that tells you a lot about yourself. And this is why God wants us to see us the way he sees us so we can receive that. But anyway, so when he woke me up, he told me, he said, I'm about to throw you in a season where you're not going to be pouring into, and that was also around the time about Yusu, where I walked away for a couple of weeks or a month or whatever. He said, I'm about to sit you down in a season where you're not going to be the one pouring out. I'm going to have people pouring to you. And I was like, well, say no more. Say no more. Please, look out for your girl. But I didn't know how lonely I didn't know how lonely that would make me because, I mean, I really couldn't pour into anybody. The people who typically calls me, nobody would call me for advice. And I'm like, what is this? Now, hold up. Now, this is kind of too quiet here now. But I'm obedient. I find myself wanting to pick up, somebody will hit my spirit and I will find myself picking up the text message to say, hey, everything good? God said, you bet not, right? So that's 3 o'clock. About 6 o'clock, Javon texted me. And Javon, if you're listening today, I still thank you because God used you to confirm. Javon texted me, a friend of mine who I went to school with. He texted me out the blue. And he said, I just want to thank you. I just want to, never mind. I was going to pull it up. I have to scroll. It's just too much scrolling to do. As you guys know, my phone is already crazy, so it's a lot of messages. And he said, thank you for pouring into people. I just want to say I appreciate you. And I was like, I'm sitting here crying. I'm talking about boo crying. I texted him back, and I'm like, I'm sitting here crying. Where did this come from? He's like, well, I just got up this morning. I was just telling God, thank you for all my blessings, for my business, for my this and that. And then God put you in my spirit to message you. 3 hours after the fact that he told me. This is a season where people are going to pour into you. And I was still kind of doubting it because I'm like, I mean, you gave me a big mouth. You gave me this spirit that people are attracted to. I don't think that's God. That's a familiar spirit saying that. And God used it to confirm. Because see, God will always confirm a word to you. Always keep that in mind, guys. I'm sure you guys know that, but God will always confirm. When God sends me certain things to say to certain people, I always tell them, take it to God first. Or if he's already told you that, then allow people to be your confirmation versus revelation. And since then, that's what's been happening. People are pouring into me, and I don't know how to receive it at first because it's just too much. Like, I need to be doing something. And God says, you've already done enough. You've already done enough. I need you to chill right now. Now, how long? I don't know. I don't know because I'm kind of enjoying So, I mean, he may be like, all right, just chill for a while and then I'm going to throw you back out there again, right? Might be stages, it might be a person because you can be called to a person and that can be a whole assignment and calling by itself because there's so many layers to it. There are so many ins and outs that you don't know that he will have to shape, prepare, and X, Y, and Z you for. So if you're being sat still right now, there's a potential that God is either he may just have you enjoying this quiet time so he can teach you to allow people to pour into you, or he can teach you to see yourself the way he sees you, and he's about to open the door to a major assignment for you. And because this assignment is major, he needed you to rest and not pour out, but instead get poured in so you can be completely filled for when that next door opens. So guys, keep pressing. Just know, most importantly, that you're not the only person going through just this weirdness in the spiritual realm where it just seems like everything is just depressed and foggy or whatever. It's a shift going on. So you got to tap in. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.